Hello, we are host Javier and Pablo. We are going to talk about the United States and some characteristics about the country.
The important events which occurred in the United States was that during most of the 1920s, the country enjoyed a period of prosperity, reducing the imbalance in the balance of payments while growing profits from factory firms. This period, known as the Roaring Twenties, culminating in the crisis of 1929 that triggered the Great Depression. In 1945, when the end of World War II in Europe, an international conference held in San Francisco drafted the United Nations Charter, which came into force after the war. After having developed the first nuclear weapons, the government decided to use it on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August of that year. Before, well, after that, Japan surrendered on the 2nd of September, and that was the final of the war. Now I'm going to talk about the science and technology in the United States. America is a leader in scientific and technological innovation since the 19th century. In 1876, Alexander Graham Bell received the first USA patent for a telephone. By Thomas Edison Laboratory developed the phonograph, the first incandescent lamp, and the first movie projector. Other of the most important person in the United States was, for example, Nikola Tesla, who pioneered alternating current experiments, the AC motor and radio. And in the 20th century, the automobile components of Ransom E. Old and Henry Ford promoted the production chain. And in the 1903, the Wright brothers made the first powered flight in the Wright aircraft flight. Some of the most known dishes in the United States are, for example, apple pie, fried chicken, pizza, hamburger, hot dog, etc. All of these dishes come from the types brought by immigrants. And other of these dishes are, for example, French fries, Mexican dishes such as burritos and tacos, and pasta dishes with recipes adapted from Italian are also widely eaten in beverage consumption. Americans prefer coffee instead of tea, and USA advertising industry has made orange juice and milk are typical breakfasts. Frequent fast food consumption is associated with what doctors call obesity epidemic, and soft drinks are widely popular because the most of the content is sugar, which represents the 9% of the average caloric intake. While most major USA sports has involved in European practice, basketball, volleyball, animation, and snowboarding are local inventions. Lacrosse and surfing are from Native Americans and Native Hawaiians, and the Olympic Committee of the United States hosted the Olympic Games in St. Louis in 1904, in Los Angeles in 1932 and 1984, and most recently in 1996 in Atlanta. United States has won 2,227 medals at the Summer Olympic Games, more than any other countries, and 216 medals at the Winter Olympic Games, the second number of medals only after Norway.
I'm going to talk about important events like tension between the colonies and the British during the 1760s and 1770s led to the American Revolutionary War, which lasted 6 years. On June 14 in 1775, the Continental Congress, meeting in Philadelphia, established a Continental Army under the command of George Washington, proclaiming, proclaiming that armor are created equal and endowed with certain unalienable rights. The Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence, drafted largely by Thomas Jefferson on July 4 and 1776. Annually on these days is celebrated like the independence of the United States. In 1777, the Articles of Confederation established a weak confederal government that operated until 1789. After the British defeat by American forces assisted by the French and Spanish, the United Kingdom recognized the independence and sovereignty over the territory east of the Mississippi River. About politics, United States is the world's oldest federation. It is a constitutional, democratic, and representative republic in which majority rule is regulated by minority rights protected by law. Um, the government is regulated by a system of checks and balances defined by the Constitution, which serves as the country's supreme legal document. The president serves a 4-year term and may be re-elected to office no more than twice. The president is not elected by direct vote, but by an indirect electoral college system in which the determining votes are apportioned by states. The food. The cuisine of the United States is similar to that in other Western countries, with wheat being the most commonly used cereal. Traditional American cuisine uses ingredients such as turkey, venison, potatoes, sweet potatoes, corn, squash, maple syrup, and other indigenous elements used by Native Americans and early European settlers. Grilled pork and beef, crab cakes, potato chips, and chocolate chips cookies are some of the dishes made that the American way. The soul food, the traditional cuisine of African slaves, is still popular in the South Among blacks or from other parts of the country. The syncretic cuisines, such as Louisiana Creole cuisine, Cajun, and Tex-Mex, are of great regional sport. Since the late 19th century, baseball has been regarded as the national sport, while football, basketball, and ice hockey are three other major professional team sports. The university leagues also attract large audience. Football is the most popular sport in the United States. Boxing and horse racing were once the most watched individual sports, but they have been eclipsed by golf and auto racing, particularly NASCAR. Soccer, although not a major professional sport in the country, has a strong presence among the young and amateur levels. The tennis and other outdoor sports are popular as well.